Hi, I'm Maggie.
And I'm Marin, and you're listening to
Girlhood Movie Database,
a podcast where we deconstruct and muse on depictions of girlhood in film, literature, and other media.
A feminist celebration of pop culture, the audacity of youth, and the ways we grow away from and into our bodies, beliefs, and dreams for ourselves and each other.
And today we are discussing the second annual Marin and Maggie Movie Awards.
Dun, 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 dun.
Fanfare play.
Yes, we need some kind of fanfare music happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you have been a longtime listener of this podcast, you might remember that at the beginning of 2025, we did an episode reflecting on our favorite podcast things from the previous year, 2024. So now it is January of 2026, and we are going to be doing the same thing, talking about some of our favorite films we discussed on the podcast last year, our favorite episode, intertextualities, and some other extra pop culture things that we loved in 2025. So it's a fun episode of us just gabbing about things that make us happy.
I can read off just a list of the films
Yes.
we went through this
Please.
year. So this is in order from most recent. Starting with the most recent is Little Women, Crimson Peak, Girls Will Be Girls, Troop Beverly Hills, My Old Ass, Love and Basketball, The Twilight Saga, all of the movies, including Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, Part 1 and 2, in a two-parter episode.
Right there.
Hero and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Also, I feel like I should mention the reason I was reading those so slow and leaving space between them, because in my head, I'm like, we should put in like a or something, like sounds between each one, which I think would be obnoxious, but that's what was happening in my brain. And then as I was reading, I was like, that's too much, Maggie. But
we can play with it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Either way, the pace of reading was good because it just gave people and me time to process.
Okay.
As they recollected the cinematic excellence,
Mm-hmm.
which we discussed on this podcast in 2025.
Yeah. Wait, did I say hero?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's it. Shall we start with our first?
Yes. What is our first category?
Our first category is best film. Just classic best film
Yes.
overall out of that list.
Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You can go first because I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Okay. Before I give out my awards, I want to say that I have made the personal decision to exclude Little Women from eligibility for these awards because, like I said in that episode, that's my favorite movie that we've ever covered on the podcast so far. My relationship to it is so big beyond this podcast itself that it just doesn't feel fair to other movies to include it. And I want to have a chance to talk about other movies that I watched for the first time for this podcast. So that is why, if you're like, but Marin said her favorite movie so far was Little Women, why isn't she giving all these awards to Little Women? That's why.
That makes sense.
That's just a rule I'm making for myself. Obviously, I love that movie. I've talked ad nauseum about the performances I love in that movie. So all the love to Little Women that will continue to live in my heart forever. With that in mind, the film I have selected for best film. What?
I don't know. I was like, what are you going to say?
Is Love and Basketball.
Nice.
I have been thinking about this movie all year because we reviewed it last winter, I think in February. And well, here, I'll just read what I wrote. I just jotted some thoughts down about it. I wrote, ambition as a long game rather than a madcap rush. A movie with real sensuality. That scene when they're icing each other's bodies as they're lying in bed together and then they play strip basketball. It's so good. It's so romantic and sensual and I love it. And then I also wrote I miss when studio movies were lit this warmly. Because it's just such a warm film to look at. And I feel like I'm entering a real world that's about love and support and family and growth and change. And it's beautiful. And also, I have been listening to the soundtrack all year because it's just stuck in my head. And I think the way that movie understands its main character, Monica, so well, and it really centers her journey so beautifully. And I still have my quibbles with Q as a romantic hero or romantic lead, but I just think the end of that movie is so brilliant when you see her playing basketball and then it pans to him and their child watching her. I could just tear up thinking about it. And it's a movie that makes me feel good and believe in love and believe in dreams. And that is why I'm awarding it Best Film.
Oh, I love that. Round of applause for Love and Basketball.
Thank you, Gina Prince Bythewood.
Well, I only wrote down the movies. I didn't write down any real thoughts.
That's okay.
But my favorite, or I shouldn't necessarily say favorite, but what I'm voting for Best Film is Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
I should have guessed that.
Yeah. I love that movie so fucking much for 1,000 reasons. Right off the top of my head, it is such a beautifully rendered representation of this portal you get to enter when you are falling in love. And we see that, of course, from the amazing performances, but also the atmosphere, the environment, the landscape, just in every way. I feel like I was going to say something else about it, and I can't remember. Oh, and it's gay.
That is true. Are there any men in that movie? At the very, very beginning, when she's coming in on the boat, there are men in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very, very end, when she sees the portrait and then she's at the symphony,
Yeah.
there are men.
But they're just background.
Yeah. It really is a female-centered movie.
Yeah. When they're at the beach, I think there's only women there when they're in the fire at the beach.
Yeah, the fire.
Yeah. It feels very like this is a utopian for women. But it, of course, and obviously doesn't shy away from the fact that even though this is kind of utopia, it only exists temporarily and they will have to leave it. And the understanding of that is where your heart gets fucking ripped out. And so I feel like I was able to be so present in that space with them in their love without having to deny the reality of what that love was up against.
Yes, that's very well said.
But then I also did have a second place.
Ooh, okay.
Which is My Old Ass.
Yes.
I fucking love My Old Ass. And I feel like in many ways, these films are like sisters to each other. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are the representations of queerness, but also the ways we deal with grief and how art itself, speaking of portals, is a way to enter that space and to enter the space of grief and move around within it to find modes of healing that we can then apply to our own lives that we're living. And so I just really love both of those movies for those reasons.
I love both these movies too. We discussed a lot of really great movies last year. Any other words about those you want to say? Okay. Mm-mm. Our next category is Best Episode. So this is what we each deem the best episode that we made last year. Would you like me to go first or would you like to go first?
What do you think? I can go first this time.
Okay.
You can first last time. We can switch off.
Sure.
For the pattern's sake. Okay, my best... I'm sort of surprised by this one. But I really felt like it was our Troop Beverly Hills episode.
This is my answer.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
We did this last year as well.
Yeah, we
both
did.
picked the Starling Girl.
We did. For me, and I have a really brief note, and it's all I really have to say about it. What is I was surprised by the depth and breadth of our conversation, despite the film's many failings, because of the time period that it was made. And I love that episode.
I love it too. I wrote epic origin story for me because that was when I shared the story of watching it with my Girl Scout troop. And it was the same night one of my classmates was like, "You pee your pants when you have sex." And I just believed her. I'll always think of that with fondness. And I love that we discussed a movie no one ever talks about anymore. Also, I've never met another soul in my life who grew up watching True Beverly Hills. I mean, I know those people exist, but I've never encountered them. So that felt special. And then I also wrote See Intertextuality Award because this is a particularly holistic episode. So I can get into that later.
Agree. Such a dynamic conversation. Our next award, Best Performance.
Best performance. I have awarded this to Connie Kusruti, who plays Anila, the mom, in Girls Will Be Girls.
Oh, damn. That's a good one. Fuck.
Are you jealous?
Yeah. Like, shit.
Well, something you said is what led me to this decision. I kept replaying, for some reason, a quote from that episode that really sticks in my brain is you saying Anila seems, quote, cool as fuck. Because it's true. And I'm pretty sure we discussed this in that episode, but the miracle balancing act of that movie is that we have to be on Mira's side the whole time, even when she's being mean to her mother. We understand why she's doing that, and we get it. But then also at the same time, we're on Anila's side. So we're on this, we're rooting for both of these characters and wanting both of them to have the best outcome for them, even though they're foils, which is just part of the genius of the movie. But I think the character of Anila is maybe at a little bit more of a disadvantage in terms of the audience's perspective because Mira, the daughter, is our entry into that movie. So Kusruti's performance really has to capture something special and kind of inexplicable to make us fall in love with her, even as we're also falling in love with the daughter who's really frustrated with her. And it's just an absolute pleasure to watch, so rich to watch. And I think about so many scenes of her in that movie all the time, specifically when she confronts the headmaster and says, I get to decide who comes into my home. And I'm just like, God, what an amazing fucking mother. What an amazing character. What an amazing representation of these minor yet major ways that mothers protect their daughters and care for their daughters. I love it so fucking much. And I love her so much.
That's fun. Great. Thanks for bringing that character into this space. I feel like I have to second that would be like I'll still talk about what I put, but yeah, she was great.
She's cool as fuck.
She is cool as fuck, dude. She's absolutely cool as fuck. Like if I was a mother, I was like, this would be what I would be thinking in the back of my head. Like, am I as cool as the mother in Girls Will Be Girls if I had a child?
But she's not conscripted right away to be cool.
Right.
You know?
She's still a mother. This isn't like a Mean Girls situation.
Exactly.
Where it's like
Amy
cool
Poehler in
yeah.
Mean Girls. It's not that's happening. It's something much more nuanced. But she's still cool as fuck.
Yeah. The layers of self-awareness she possesses, and then to be able to use those as a means of both protecting and connecting with her daughter. That's good. That's good movie watching.
Yeah.
So I picked, of course, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, we're pulling for Portrait of a Lady on Fire again. Our main protagonists, and I'm not French, so I'm not going to say their names entirely correctly, although I did look it up. But Noemi Merlan and Adele Enel. And why did I pick this? The entire fucking film is built on micro expressions.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about perhaps ad nauseum when we had that conversation about All's Fair and Kim Kardashian's performances, and well, I don't think we talked about it ad nauseum, but I'm not going to go into it is what I'm saying, so it doesn't become that. But it's a lost art. I think it's not a lost art, but I think we're losing it. And so it feels particularly precious.
There's
right
a
now.
certain generation of moviegoer, I think, who will come to view that specific ability as novel.
Yeah.
Because of trends that are happening.
Can we actually do a hard swerve really quick?
Sure.
To the Titanic.
Okay. Oh.
Which I'm like, Marin's will be fine about this. She's not gonna. So my very first awareness of micro expression and the power of it is from that film. And obviously I saw it in theaters when it came out in 1998. I didn't know the fucking term micro expression, but it is the scene I've thought about since that time, which was like going on 30 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And it is the scene where Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are like the ship is sinking and they're at the very top.
Oh, it's so stressful.
And they're like hanging on, and Kate Winslet is looking at this young woman. She's about like her age, and she's looking at her, and she's alone though. Kate Winslet has Leo helping her, and this other young woman is alone. And it's just a moment of them looking at each other, and you're trying to read what they're thinking, and you know what they're thinking, and also you have no idea because it's such like a complex moment. There are layers and layers and layers of meaning in their expressions with each other. It's just like seeing each other as women, the other woman seeing Kate Winslet as someone that has this level of protection because she has Leo to help her. There's a class element because Kate Winslet is of a wealthier class, and I think we can safely assume this other woman is not. And we get all this just from the look on their fucking faces. And it's good.
I have full body chills. I think, God, that movie, Kate especially in that movie, so fucking good. I think about that in the scene when she gets, is it when she gets out of the lifeboat? It must be right before she jumps out and she goes, "Goodbye, mother." And your eyes just widen so big. And her face is mostly blank, which is conveying something about how she feels about her mother. But even though her face is still, there's so much alive in it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're just sharing Kate Winslet Titanic micro expression Hall of Fame, I was like, gotta throw that out there.
It's so good. There was such artistry in those performances. And yeah, fuck Leonardo DiCaprio now.
Oh, his yacht, business. Yeah.
But damn, at least the man could act.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Kate,
he still has his real face too, which Brad Pitt does not have his real face anymore, which also fuck Brad Pitt for various reasons. But I'm like, oh, why is your face so puffy, man? You could have looked hot as hell in your 60s. But so Leo and Kate also still have their real faces, I think.
Yeah, I was actually going to go there regarding Kate. We're on a first name basis, specifically because she has spoken publicly, is my understanding, about how she's like, no, I'm not going to get work done. I think it's important that young women see women age naturally. This is my fucking face, dude. So love her, and Leo could make some better choices maybe in his personal life.
Yeah.
in terms of not being a creepy old man.
And stop being friends with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. But Titanic is perfection.
It is.
Anyway.
Indeed it is. One day there will be an episode about that movie on this podcast, and it will be an epic day in the history of the world. Is there anything else you want to say about your performances in Portrait of a Lady on Fire, though?
No. No,
Okay.
that is it's just the micro expression thing.
Okay. God, yeah, when she's like, turn around. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Look.
Yeah. And that whole last scene when she's just at the symphony listening to the music and her face just goes on such
Entire scene is
a
just
journey.
her face.
It's just her face.
Fuck. It's so good.
And you're seeing the whole history of that romance play out in her face. And it's
and the entire romance is played out in each other's faces.
Yeah.
During the painting scenes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Alrighty. Our next category is sexiest intertextuality.
Now I don't remember. Do I go first this time or do you?
It's your turn to go first.
I lost track. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying I was really thinking about the word sexiest and the word sexy in general. And I was like, okay, I am going to apply Marin's definition to this. This isn't like sexy as it, well, can you please give us I know we've done it on the podcast before, but I think we could use a reminder.
Yes.
The definition.
Okay, the whole origin of me using sexy as an adjective in this very specific and perhaps strange way is that I called a thunderstorm sexy one time. And the reason that I called it sexy is because it's surprising and it causes you to react in some way. It's like a moment when the earth is so alive, you know? And so I think, and that's sexy to me. It's not like it's literally making you sexually aroused, but there is an element of feeling attuned and alive that I like to use the word sexy to describe that. So intertextualities, which we find sexy, are the ones that make us feel most alive, dare I say stimulated, in relation to the work that they're in conversation with. Does that satisfy?
Yeah. And I would say my interpretation of that interpretation is like the way that I think about it then is art that makes me feel most deeply human. Mm-hmm. I am aroused to my humanity, to my own humanity is kind of how I think about it. So my intertextuality is, in a surprise to no one, Mona Fastfold's The World to Come, which I use as an intertextuality with Portrait of a Lady on Fire. The World to Come, oh, fuck. I love it so much. I'm so excited for her new movie that's coming out this year, The Testament of Anne Lee. It's going to be so fucking good. I know it. The World to Come, starring Catherine Waterston and Vanessa Kirby. It is definitely another one of those films that is sister to Portrait of a Lady on Fire in terms of these two women, they fall in love, but they are married. In Portrait of a Lady on Fire, neither of the women are married. In The World to Come, both the women are married and they have to find ways to see each other when their husbands aren't around. And we get this portal into their love. They are in a very isolated landscape, but the violence of patriarchy in The World to Come is much more present and than it is in Portrait of a Lady on Fire, because their husbands are there and they're like actively living under the occupation of patriarchal expectations. And so the scenes we get when these women are alone, there is such deep fucking intimacy. They're like having like picnics together, and they also began their love affair via fucking micro expressions. Okay. I feel like there may be a connection. Well, there's definitely a connection, which I I have just thought about it, so I'm not going to go on a whole tangent about it. But I'm just putting it out there. The erasure of micro expressions is directly related to the rise of like fascist patriarchal regime, because we lose nuance, and also there's the physical loss of micro expressions via plastic surgery, which is coming directly from misogyny. Even if you're just doing it to feel good, plastic surgery originated from misogyny. That's just true. You can't really escape that. Well, I should say elective plastic surgery. Anyway, all that to say, this movie just makes me feel so deeply human, because I feel like I can go in any direction with it. And it connects to my favorite film.
I still haven't watched this movie. I've been meaning to for years, even before you mentioned it in Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I was like, oh, I should watch that. I would probably like that. And I've just never gotten around to it.
It's okay. That's all I have, I guess. Yeah.
That's
my pick.
That's a good pick. This is reminding me that last year when we did this award, we had different approaches to it. And I think that's happening again this year. You're looking at the text itself, and is the essence of that sexy? Whereas I'm looking at it from more the inter part. Is the inter sexy? How is it being connected to something else? And that's where I'm finding sexiness. And I think that just says something about how our brains work. So I have pulled both your intertextuality and mine from the Troop Beverly Hills episode to award them sexiest intertextuality. Now, astute listeners will recall that your intertextuality in that episode was right-wing cosmopolitan Evie magazine, which I am not calling a sexy publication, but I think you bringing that into the conversation to explore the ways that Troop Beverly Hills is discussing femininity and class and wealth and whiteness was all very illuminating. And I similarly feel that when what I contributed, the intertextualities I contributed to that episode were a lot of reviews of the film that were published at the time it was released, which was, I believe, 1989. And they were particularly scathing. And so we looked at those reviews and we're like, okay, this feels a little overkill. What's going on here? And it just created this very holistic way to look at the movie through both the lens of the current moment with things like EB Magazine, and then also a way to rely on hindsight when looking at these reviews that were published in 1989 of the movie, and then 30, 40 years later being like, okay, but what actually were we saying? And in what ways were these prophetic and in what ways weren't they? Because we talked a lot about the type of rich person being portrayed in that movie and how critics took such umbrage with that when we're like, y'all had no fucking idea how much worse it was going to get. So it just really contributed to, the intertextualities really contributed to making that conversation, I think, as rich as it was. And in that way, they are all very sexy to me. So they get my sexy intertextuality award.
I like that, thinking about the inter aspect of it. Yeah. I think that is in part what made it the best episode to me. Were definitely those intertextualities.
I agree. Yeah. That critic who was just railing about how the kids were ugly, that was insane, first of all.
So bizarre. Grown men calling children. Was it a man?
I'm pretty sure that one was
a
written by a
woman,
woman.
actually. Yeah. Grown people calling children ugly.
It's just not. And so it's fascinating for me to look at those for many reasons. Anything else you want to add about intertextuality?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Next on the list, I have most meaningful pop culture encounter of 2025. Is that? Okay. Is it my turn to go first?
I think so, yeah.
This is really hard for me because I live and breathe pop culture. It's my favorite sort of way to interact with the world. So what I did last night was I went through and I made a list of things that definitely rose to the top. I'm not going to go through all of them because that would take forever. I have 4. And so I wrote them down and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed and then tomorrow I'm going to look at this list again. And I feel like one will rise to the top and speak to me. And I was lying in bed this morning thinking about it. And immediately I was like, that's the one. That's the one. So it worked. Anyway, I just wanted to convey to you all that I put a lot of thought into this decision. And so my pop culture highlight of 2025, I also think of the ones on this list, this is the one that would give Maggie the most delight, is I got Final Destination pilled. Meaning, I had never seen a Final Destination movie ever in my lifetime. And then I was at the movies and I saw a trailer for Final Destination Bloodlines. And I don't know if you ever saw a trailer for that movie. I know you've seen it, right? The trailer was mostly from that barbecue scene where you just like see all these things that could be going wrong and they're not happening yet, but you're like, how is it going to happen? And I remember watching the trailer and being like, whoa, this is really well done. What is this? And then at the end, it's like Final Destination Bloodlines. And I'm like, wait, they're making a new Final Destination movie. And also it looks kind of good. What is going on? Because my impression of these movies had been that they were successful and they had a cult fan base and they did well financially, but they were never critical darlings. And then Final Destination Bloodlines started getting really good reviews. And also I recognized one of the cast members because he was in this CW teen soap I used to watch when I was in high school. I was like, oh my God, it's Murphy from The 100, he was the goth cousin in great character. So I was like, fuck, I might watch all the Final Destination movies. And so I basically binged them over the course of a week and I fucking loved them. Okay, they're so, even the bad ones, like I think 4 and 5 are pretty bad. But even then, they're still entertaining. And the plot of Final Destination is that at the beginning of every movie, one of the characters has a vision of a like mass event happening where lots of people die. And so because they have received this vision, they're then able to outsmart death and escape the event. But nobody actually escapes death. So then the rest of the movie is like death coming for the people who escaped it at the very beginning. And so there's lots of really clever, elaborate kills. And it's just waiting for people to die and seeing how creatively and convolutedly they're going to die. And it was actually a really good time. And the main thing I took away from it is that I have talked before on this podcast, in our My Old Ass episode specifically, about my fear of death. And I have a lot of anxiety related to death. And watching these movies where death is inevitable, which it is also inevitable for us in real life, but in these movies, it's inevitable in a different way. And also seeing it unravel with humor, where I can watch people die and laugh and be like, maybe it's not that serious when we all die. It was oddly very comforting to me. And then I went with my friend to see Final Destination Bloodlines in theaters, and we had an awesome time, and it felt very complete, and it was a beautiful journey. The end.
That's beautiful. I love it. Final Destination as a therapeutic tool to help you deal with death anxiety.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
I still have a long ways to go, I think, but it definitely helped, and it helped me think about things in a new way, for sure, while also being really entertained.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's great.
Thank you. My rankings, for all who, I know everyone's just wanting to know. At the top, Final Destination 3, Final Destination Bloodlines, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 1, little gap, Final Destination 5, huge gap, Final Destination 4. That one's really bad.
Oh, shit. I still feel like I got to go with the original
The original's good.
because that's what I saw. And that's what seared into my brain.
And you do kind of have to actually watch them in order because as this series progresses, it does build some continuity in ways that are actually really interesting, which is fun. I love exploring a franchise. Last year it was Fast and Furious. Or in 2024 it was Fast and Furious. 2025 it was Final Destination. I have a feeling in 2026 it's going to be Saw. I don't know why. I'm like, maybe I can handle the Saw franchise.
Saw has like the little guy on the scooter, right? Is that Saw?
I've never
the
seen
Saw
him.
movies?
I don't know. The guy's name is Jigsaw. He kidnaps people and he creates these elaborate traps.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. And I've always felt they would be a little too gory for me because I don't handle torture well, and that's all those movies are. But I feel like Final Destination was a good bridge to building up to something like Saw. And there's 10 or 11 Saw movies. So
there are so many.
I might make that my project for this year.
Shout out to Final Destination. Do you have more to say about your... Okay.
I think I've said plenty about Final Destination, so.
Okay, well, I'm just realizing that I couldn't think of any. And I just wrote still thinking about it. I have been thinking about this, well, since we talked about doing this episode. And I didn't even know where to go in my mind to find a pop culture moment. And I'm sure that there was one. But I honestly think 2025 was so hard. I had a very hard time in 2025. Mental health wise, primarily. And with that comes a kind of, well, like clinically, there are studies that when you experience depression, you also can experience like a kind of amnesia. So I actually think there's a lot I don't remember from 2025, and it makes me kind of sad. So I couldn't think of anything, and I think that is actually why. I think that I literally don't have enough memories of it to be able to come up with something. So instead of just trying to think of anything, I'm just gonna be honest about that. Yeah, that's what happened.
I'm sure people appreciate you being candid because I'm sure other people have experienced similar things. I certainly have before. I think that's I'm not trying to downplay like your experience or your symptoms, but I think that's a very common symptom when you're in a depressive episode is brain fog, and you lose your sense of time and memory. So it's one of the things that makes it so horrible to experience.
But I do think it's one of the sort of symptoms that maybe I feel like has been glossed over, or it's something that I didn't understand until I was older, that was something that was happening to me when I was younger, because there are a lot of like holes in my memory. And when I learned that that was a thing as an adult, that I realized that that had happened to me when I was younger, but it wasn't something that I was aware of, or that I was made aware of, or that my generation even was necessarily made aware of. So I came to that understanding late. It is making me think of Twilight, though, when Bella experiences a depressive episode, and then the pages for those chapters are just blank.
And in the movie, it's just her sitting in that chair. And that's what I'm saying. And that movie is not profound, but there is something inherently true to the way it is portraying adolescent depression and grief.
Absolutely.
Oh, I get this.
Yeah.
fucking get this.
Maybe it was Twilight because I don't remember the moment I realized, like I understood, oh, that's what was happening to me. But Twilight probably helped me get there. I wouldn't doubt it. So shout out Kristen Stewart.
Always shout out Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Just generally speaking.
Could I add one little thing?
Yeah.
My favorite new movie release of 2025 was a movie that is a pretty small movie called Sorry Baby. And so I just want to encourage anyone who has not seen it to check out Sorry Baby, because I watched a lot of movies in theaters in 2025 and that one far and away remains my favorite one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to almost cut you off. I just got really excited because I also watched that.
And did you like it?
It was so fucking good, dude.
It's so brilliant.
And hilarious.
It's so funny. It's hilarious. And it's also so tender. And it's also about like very real things.
Mm-hmm.
And
beautifully acted.
Beautifully directed. I cannot sing its praises enough. So everyone, if you have not checked that out yet, please look into Sorry Baby. I'm glad that you watched it. I kept meaning to recommend it to you because I thought you would really like it. It's also, if you've ever been to grad school, especially for humanities stuff, it explores like very real dangers and harms that can come in those kinds of environments, but it also is a very funny, sly look at the ridiculousness of academia too.
Yeah.
Which Maggie and I met in academia, so I have been recommending it to our MFA friends as well.
Yeah. Our next one? Our next award?
Yes.
Should we go to our next award?
Yes.
Our next
This is a new award.
I think you should explain this award.
Because it was my idea.
Yes.
Our next award is called the Bruce Willis Award, named after Bruce Willis's perplexing, delightful, and self-aware scene in Nancy Drew. This award honors a small screen time, larger-than-life performance. So it can't quite you can't quite make a case for it to deserve the Best Performance Award, but it deserves a shout-out of some kind. And we have covered Nancy Drew on the podcast, obviously, and we discussed the very strange, but I find ultimately delightful single cameo scene that Bruce Willis has in that movie playing himself. So it only felt right to name it after him.
So, well, I put two down, and they're both kind of like as jokes.
That's kind of what this is meant to be.
So my first one goes to Tyra Banks in Love and Basketball.
I love it.
Because you're watching that movie, you're like, wait, what the fuck? And it's so, because now Tyra has been doing some things,
Recently?
over time. Okay, I could be making this up. So maybe we'll need to fact check it entirely before we put this out there. But I'm fairly certain I think it's real that she is... It sounds actually really crazy when I'm about to say. Okay, hold on. I'm actually going to look it up before I say it, okay?
Okay, because I genuinely have no idea what she has been up to post America's Next Top Model and her talk show. Maybe she hosted America's Got Talent or something for a while. Maybe she still does. She has a different hosting gig. But I have not been following her closely, despite being very obsessed with her when I was a child.
Okay. It seems that this is true.
Okay.
She has been selling hot ice cream in Australia.
Hot ice cream? What is hot ice cream?
It's hot ice cream. It's just ice cream that is hot.
That's warm? What?
I don't actually know. Here, hot ice cream, ? Hot ice cream is a culinary first, a warm, pourable take on the dessert we all thought we knew. The result, a smooth, sippable treat that feels like a cross between a hot, creamy drink and an ice cream sundae. Sipped, not scooped. Comforting, not scolding. A delicious contradiction that challenges everything you think you know about ice cream. An and unmistakably the nostalgic treat we all love.
Is this from her business website or
Yes.
something? Okay.
Yes.
What? I mean,
So that you asked, that's what she says.
I thought you were going to say she was QAnon or something like that. So at least it's not anything.
I felt out of
Bad,
my mind
but-
saying she's selling hot ice cream in Australia.
That is fat. Why Australia?
I don't
Does
know.
she live there now?
I don't know. I don't know, dude. But Tyra Banks is just like, she's just out there doing
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
Some hot ice cream. So, yeah, I don't know that is it. I don't think they have it in the United States. Maybe they do. I could be wrong. I know they definitely have it in Australia. But of all the places to sell a hot, I don't know how long she's been doing this.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's seasonal or not. I don't
Like,
know.
what in the Australian market makes it more viable than somewhere in the US?
Right. So
Maybe she's really popular over there. That happens sometimes where
Yeah.
a show gets a lot of syndication or something in another country and then they're really popular over there.
her cameo in Love and Basketball
Maybe.
shot her to the top of Australia's celebrity fame list. I don't know, dude. But Tyra Banks, shout out, doing the damn thing.
I hope that character ended up okay after getting dumped 2 weeks before her wedding. Because she did seem like a lovely woman.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't jealous of Monica. She wasn't rude to Monica. She just was like, oh, you're his childhood friend. Hi.
Yeah, that's true. And the only time we're like, I think we're supposed to feel negatively about her
Right.
when she's like, well, you're not going to be bringing this. And was it like a letter that was hanging up on the wall?
Yeah,
Like
it was a pennant or something.
Yeah.
And I think we also maybe talked about how maybe that movie, the one kind of disconcerting question I had with that movie was if it wanted us to think she was just with him for his money because she was a working class woman. She was an airline stewardess, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was still a professional basketball player at that point. But we didn't read her that way, but we wondered if the movie wanted us to read her that way.
Yeah.
I also actually have two, which are both kind of jokey. The one of them is incredibly simple, doesn't really require much explanation. So could I do my first one and then you can do
Yeah.
your second one? Okay. My first recipient of the Bruce Willis Award is Mia Wasikowska's Tiny Glasses in Crimson Peak,
Perfect.
which is not technically a character, but they made me happy every time they appeared on screen, and she looked awesome in them, so they get an award.
I fucking love that, dude. That's so perfect.
Thank you.
This is also kind of a joke, but not. But speaking of Crimson Peak, I put Charlie Hunnam in Crimson Peak. I think he was a side character. But he was like really important. But he had a relatively small amount of screen time. And when he was on the screen, it was fine. But it was just a weird role, I think, for him. And his hair was so bad. So I definitely think that he deserves a Bruce Willis Award.
I can support this. I can support this because his character feels like he's from another planet in that movie because he's just this very average local doctor. You have to know a lot to be a doctor, but he just shows up in this decaying mansion, as we referred to it, where there's ghosts and dead ladies, and he's like, what's going on? And it's like, bro,
It's just bizarre. And I really think it's because it's him. If it was somebody else, fine. But like Charlie, you thought this is the role for me?
Well, I looked into this after we did that episode because we had a lot of Charlie Hunnam discussion in that episode. And I learned that that was his second time working with Guillermo del Toro. He originally was in Pacific Rim, which is the robots versus aliens movie that Guillermo del Toro directed. And so they must have gotten along great. And he cast him in Crimson Peak later.
Okay.
Congratulations to Charlie Hunnam on receiving this prestigious award.
You're welcome. And to Tyra.
And to Tyra, yeah. Okay, this is my real answer, which is also still silly. But I would like to bestow a Bruce Willis award to Michael Sheen, who played Arrow. Maggie's making a face like she doesn't even know who I'm talking about. Arrow, the long-haired Volturi diva.
Oh, yes.
In the Twilight Saga, who in Breaking Bond Part 2, when he asks if he can, is it that he can touch Renesmee? And he does, and he senses her power, and then he laughs. He's that guy.
Yes. So good.
Truly, he truly a committed performance across multiple movies in that series. Mad respect. Mad respect.
That's so fucking funny.
I know. There's
That's a
so
good
many
one.
characters. It is hard to keep track of their name.
Yeah. Well, and even like actors and stuff. I don't have like a, Rolodex. Who has a fucking Rolodex anymore? But I don't have one in my brain of like different like celebrities and stuff. And I feel like you do.
I very much do.
So I'm like Charlie Sheen. Like I really have to think about.
Michael Sheen. Charlie
Michael
Sheen, a
Sheen.
whole different.
Can you imagine if it had been Charlie? No, that would have.
I don't know. Speaking of someone, I have no idea what they're doing right now. I don't know.
He could be making hot ice cream in Australia with Tyra Banks.
Could be.
And
would
I wouldn't
probably
be
good for
surprised.
him, actually.
Yeah.
It would give him structure to his life. She probably needs.
He needs. For sure.
No, Michael Sheen is Welsh, I believe. He's a great actor. I've seen him in a lot of things. He's been in genuinely great works of art.
Yeah, I know. I'm just really imagining Charlie Sheen trying to do anything worthy of artistic.
I mean, he was really successful for a really long time.
What was he doing? What was he so successful at, actually?
Well, he had his cameo in Ferris Bueller. I do think that actually was important to his career. He's like the burnout guy that the Jennifer Grey I don't know when the last time you watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off is. He has one scene in that movie. You could honestly give him a Bruce Willis award. You could give him a Bruce Willis award for that movie. But then he was in Platoon. He was in a bunch of big movies in the 80s and 90s. And then he transitioned more. He was in his sitcom for a long time, 2.5 Men.
I think that's my only real reference.
And then, it was in the middle of that his addiction got like way worse, or he relapsed or whatever, and he got fired. And then there was a lot of public people saying things about each other in public, and hasn't really worked since then. I don't think.
I'm sorry, I keep just randomly laughing.
That was when he did the whole winning and these are my sex goddesses that live with me. I was at a very formative age when I was watching all of that unfold on Good Morning America.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I'm just imagining him as being part of the Valkyrie. It's Valkyrie with a K, right?
Volturi.
Dude, how the fuck do I watch these movies every fucking year? And I still don't know.
That's okay.
Valkyrie?
He could have done it, maybe.
God. It's just, I'm sorry, Michael Sheen. I just feel like I should have publicly apologized to him for saying Charlie.
That's okay. They do have the same last name.
Yeah.
And then there's Martin Sheen, who's Charlie Sheen's dad, who's also an actor. And then Emilio Estevez is Charlie Sheen's brother, but he goes by a different name. He goes by his birth name. And Sheen is like the Americanized stage name that they chose, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, the Rolodex.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all in there.
It's on all the time. It's kind of exhausting sometimes. Alrighty. I have one more award to give. Do you have an award? I labeled this as optional.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an award?
I do have one.
I did this last year. I'm calling it Crossover Event. And it's awarded to an actor, director, theme, etc. we have covered on the podcast, who also featured in the most recent year's pop culture in a happiness-inducing way. So, to refresh people's brains, last year I gave this award to Ed Harris, in honor of his performance in The Lost Daughter, which was a movie we discussed on the podcast. And then last year, he was also in the cinematic masterpiece, Love Lies Bleeding. So there's a lot of malleability here, but that's the idea of what we're going for. Would you like to go first?
I can.
Okay.
My crossover event is, I'm counting it as a 2025 thing, even though it was on the cusp.
That's fine.
But it's an event. Okay, I haven't even seen the film yet because it's not playing anywhere near us. But I was so excited when I found out that Kristen Stewart was making her directorial debut. Right?
Mhm.
It's her debut, right? Like she hasn't directed a film before.
Yes.
With a film based on a memoir, The Chronology of Water by Lydia Yuknevich. I believe I'm saying her last name correctly. That I love. Like that memoir is a favorite memoir of mine. It's been informative and definitely the structure of it has been impactful in my own work. And so the crossover of Kristen Stewart directing a film and the way she did it too, she was like, I'm not going to work with anybody until somebody gives me some fucking money to make this movie. I'm so really fucking excited to see it. I have looked everywhere. I've spent a time trying to find a way to see this fucking movie. And it's just not playing anywhere near us. I'd have to like go to DC basically to see it. But I really want to see it in theaters. I thought about getting a train to just go to DC. I'm still thinking about maybe doing that in the next couple of weeks if it doesn't pop up somewhere like in Richmond or something closer to us. I was really hoping maybe the Grandin would pick it up or something, but
they might. You can always email them. I did this about Sorry Baby, actually. And I've done it a few other times before. If there's a movie that you're interested in seeing, and especially if you don't think it's going to come to the Regal or the AMC, they are always very responsive. Even if they don't end up showing it, every time I've emailed them, they've been like, we really appreciate you reaching out to us and letting us know. This is like, it matters when people do this.
I'll try that.
Their emails on their website. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, because I emailed them about Sorry Baby and they were like, yeah, we really want to show it. So the fact that you're showing interest helps us secure it.
Awesome.
That's great.
Support your local
movie house.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. I love that. And I love that it represents these two bookends of Kristen Stewart's career. Her breakout role as an actress and then stepping into this really audacious seeming directing debut.
Yeah. And her press for it has been great too. She's made some really powerful statements and about expectations that women making art are subject to and the freedom men have to just play themselves in movies. There's a great interview where she talks about that, where if a man just like plays himself in every movie, this is a hard paraphrasing, that he's seen as a creative genius. But if a woman tried that, just being themselves in a film, we would critique them for not having any range, right? Even if they were good. What if Natalie Portman just tried to play herself in every role? What would that even mean? Anyway, men don't have to be dynamic.
Yeah, well, I think too, if you look at, I've often thought about the death of the theatrical rom-com, which most rom-coms now just get straight to streaming. And women like Reese Witherspoon and Kate Hudson, who were making a lot of people a lot of money making romantic comedy or romantic comedy adjacent movies in the late 90s and early 2000s. Jennifer Lopez, another one. And they were good. What they were doing, it looks easy to us because they're playing, even if the movies are entertaining some element of romantic fantasy, like they're still playing women who are recognizable to us in some way. And so we think it's easy, but it's not. It's really hard to be that natural on screen and to have chemistry with other performers and to go on that kind of trajectory as a character in an under 2 hours movie. It's hard, but we were like discrediting that kind of thing. And that feels perhaps of a piece with what Kristen Stewart is saying. It's like women, just because they're doing something similar more than once, and also just because it's not something that maybe you're interested in watching yourself doesn't mean it's not valuable or skilled.
And even at that, there's something there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate this, but so we have Reese Witherspoon in these sort of romantic comedies.
Mhm.
She's still seen as like playing a role. Oh, well, she can do that. It's easy. She can play this role and it's easy. Whereas if a man plays a similar role across films, it's seen as like, this is what he does.
Like George Clooney.
Yes, it's art and it's him. And he is, in that way, we don't even have to separate him from his art. He just is the art. Whereas Reese Witherspoon is just doing this easy thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is an important distinction.
So I feel like that's happening there too.
That's a great crossover event. All the flowers to Kristen Stewart. My crossover event involves not one but two performers. Regina Hall, whose performance we discussed in Support the Girls. I gave her my Best Performance Award last year. And her co-star in that movie, Shayna McHale, who also goes by the stage name Jungle Pussy. Both of these women, who are fantastic in Support the Girls, pop up in what's probably going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, one battle after another. And I went into that movie knowing Regina Hall was going to be in it. And I was like, ooh, okay, Regina Hall's going to show up here. She's amazing in it. She has a very small role, and she doesn't have a lot of lines, but she does so much with her eyes. And her character manages to go through a whole arc with really minimal screen time in what's almost a 3-hour movie. And it's really, really, really impressive. But Jungle Pussy also pops up in the very beginning. Again, a pretty small role. But when she popped up, I was like, holy shit, I think that's Jungle Pussy from Support the Girls. And then her character's name in the movie is Jungle Pussy. Yeah. And someone called her that, and I was like, okay, that is her. Awesome. And this creates layers, actually, though, of crossover events, because this movie is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, whose work I really like. A lot of film bros they're like, I get Paul Thomas Anderson. And I'm like, you know what? I get him too. We're all allowed to get Paul Thomas Anderson. I think his work is really interesting and great. And in, I think, the early 90s, Paul Thomas Anderson made a movie called Boogie Nights. Are you familiar with this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Starring Mark Wahlberg before he really went off the deep end. And it's set in the 1970s in like the golden age of porn production in the United States. And two of the actresses in that movie are Laura Holloman and Nicole Ari Parker, who were in a movie we covered on this podcast, The Incredibly True Adventure of Two Girls in Love. And so my crackpot theory is that Paul Thomas Anderson in the 90s or whatever saw that movie, The Incredibly True Adventure of Two Girls in Love, and was like, these two actresses are awesome. I want to cast them in my next movie. Because then like 2 years later, they were in Boogie Nights. And then obviously Regina Hall is very, very famous. I do not presume that Paul Thomas Anderson discovered Regina Hall through watching Support the Girls, because she's been a very famous comedy actress for a really long time. And Paul Thomas Anderson's partner of many years is Maya Rudolph, who's also a very well-regarded comedic actress. So I'm like, he fucking knows who Regina Hall is. But I'm convinced that somehow through Support the Girls, like either Regina Hall was like, hey, I worked with this other actress in this movie, you should cast her, or he watched Support the Girls and was like, Jungle Pussy must also be in this movie. Point is, I think Paul Thomas Anderson is out here watching these good movies that have a lot of women in them and is like, I want to put them in my movies. And I think that's cool if it proves true. It's still cool that he's casting them anyways, but that is my Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny with the board and the string meme.
It sounds legit to me. Nice.
Have you seen One Battle After Another?
I haven't.
It's very long. I really like it. I've seen it twice, but it is very long.
Is Leo in that?
He
Is
is
that
in
the one
it.
that Leo's in it?
He's in it. And unfortunately, he's like really, really good in it.
He's fucking great.
He's so good in it.
In everything. Like, he's so talented. God damn it.
Tiana Taylor's amazing in it. Benicio del Toro, oh my heart. It's truly a really, really phenomenal ensemble.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to say. I'll be honest with
Sean
you.
Penn is scary, but also great.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to watch it now. I'll be honest. I think that I was avoiding it because of Leonardo DiCaprio and his affinity for very young women. Yeah,
He's had the same girlfriend for a few years now.
He has.
Yeah.
See, I don't.
But
know
she's still a 20-something supermodel. I guess I don't know how old she is. I can look. Do you want me to look?
I do. I feel like we need to know.
Because yeah, the joke that he breaks up with them once they turn 25, I think has held some water in the past. Let's see. She's 27.
And he's 50.
He's in his 50s now. According to Wikipedia, they've been dating since 2023. He's 51. So he's 24 years older than her. And she's over 25.
I mean, whatever. I guess they're adults. And obviously, like, the bigger critique is that he's hanging out with some nasty fucking people, dude.
Yeah.
If you can even stomach being around a person like Jeff Bezos, he hangs out with Jeff Bezos, right?
I'm pretty sure he was also at Jeff Bezos' wedding.
Okay. Because I'm putting them together in my mind. I'm pretty sure that like, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, they go to like that billionaire island probably together on their yachts or whatever the fuck. I'm not talking about Epstein. I wasn't referencing that, actually.
But
it's
known that really rich people go to private islands and do cocaine or whatever.
Yeah. And like, I just don't respect it.
I know. I don't either.
So,
I don't either. And that's...
But goddamn, the man can act.
But goddamn, he really is a fucking movie star. But he's not the crossover king here. It's Regina Hall and Jungle Pussy.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to fucking watch it now. Just thinking about Jungle Pussy music.
Yeah.
It's
what
so
a
good.
woman. What a woman. Alrighty. And that concludes our second annual Marin and Maggie Movie Awards.
Yeah.
MMMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with some kind of wrestling.
MMA.
Yeah.
Which is some fighting.
Mixed martial arts.
Yes,
not to be confused
that's
with
what that means.
MMA. Easy to confuse. Very similar energies.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us through the year. And we look forward to doing more of this in 2026. Stay tuned next month for Emerald Fennell's newest adaptation of Wuthering Heights, which has not been released to the world yet. So this will be a very fresh discussion. We'll be talking about it when the rest of the world is too.
The plan is we're going to see it the night before. When it comes out on Valentine's Day.
I think that whatever that Friday is.
Yeah, I think it's the 13th. Mm-hmm. It comes out. And then we're going to record our episode the next day.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be fun. I'm going to have a good time watching this movie no matter what.
Right. So stay tuned for that. Rate, review, subscribe. Turn on post notifications so that you don't ever miss an episode. You can follow us on Instagram at Girlhood Movie Database. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.